My husband suffered an acute transmural myocardial infarction leading to a heart rupture and is now in the operating room undergoing emergency surgery. But I wasn't in a hurry. I calmly pulled out a makeup mirror and started doing my eyebrows. With a loud bang, the operating room door swung open as Marcus, the lead surgeon, rushed out dripping with sweat. "Fionola, you're the nation's top cardiac surgeon. I can't operate on your husband." I stared at my half-done eyebrows in the mirror and replied flatly, "I have severe depression. They won't let me near an operating room anymore. Can't help it. But Samir's heart is ruptured and bleeding heavily. If we don't operate now, he'll die." Marcus protested, panic in his voice. I shot him a mocking look and snorted, "Then let him die. Why are you more worked up than me?" Just then, my in-laws came rushing over, looking frantic. They both dropped to their knees in front of me. "Fionola, we're begging you. You can't just let Samir die." I sighed and paused, putting down the eyebrow pencil. The director personally ordered me to stop performing surgeries and take time off. I can't go against that. My mother-in-law glared at me, trembling with fury. "Fionola, you're just making excuses. What order could possibly matter more than Samir's life?" My father-in-law, equally furious, stomped his feet and pointed at me, yelling, "If you don't save my son today, you're a murderer. Our family won't claim you as our daughter-in-law anymore." I could understand their anger. After all, Samir was the only son of the Sue family. But they didn't think depression was serious. To them, it was just overthinking from having too much time. They saw depression as nothing but melodramatic whining and making a fuss over nothing. I couldn't be bothered to argue with such ignorant country folk. I just held out my hand in front of them. When they saw my hands trembling violently, that wouldn't stop, and my empty eyes, they were instantly terrified. My mother-in-law plopped down on the floor, wailing and slapping her thighs. "Oh, my son, how did you get so unlucky to catch the sickness and end up with such a wife? What am I supposed to do now?" My father-in-law squatted in desperation, clutching his head and wailing. I took a deep breath and stared blankly at the scene before me. I picked up the makeup mirror again and continued filling in my other eyebrow. Today, Samir's heart ruptured suddenly. I hadn't even done my makeup before rushing out, so now I'm fixing that. The tremors from my depression kept me from shaping my eyebrows properly, and I was really frustrated. Beside me, Marcus, the lead surgeon, glared angrily. "Fiona, the director ordered you not to operate, but this is your husband. Can you really just let him die? I know you have depression, but can't you just try to push through this?" He continued pleading. "You know you're the only one who can save Samir now. How can you be so heartless?" His words sparked criticism from the patients in the hallway, who joined in criticizing me. How can this woman be so heartless? If my husband needed saving, I'd defy the Jade Emperor himself to save him. Depression? What nonsense. Just take some pills, suck it up, and do the damn surgery. Look how cold she is. She must not love her husband at all. Probably wants him dead. Hearing all these accusations, my emotions spiraled out of control. I snapped the eyebrow pencil and screamed at everyone in a depressive rage. "Do you all fucking want to die? It's all your fault. You made my eyebrows crooked. I'll stab you all." I sprang up from the chair, wild-eyed and clutching the broken eyebrow pencil, charging at my accusers like a madwoman. My in-laws and Marcus were startled. They rushed over and grabbed me tightly, trying to restrain me. Marcus shouted to the crowd, "Stop talking. She's severely depressed and could get violent." The crowd fell silent in fear. My in-laws gently calmed me and guided me back to my seat. Unable to hold back any longer, my mother-in-law pleaded with me again, "Fionola, Samir's life is in your hands. Please, can you pull yourself together and do the surgery to save him? We'll give you anything you want, even our lives. Just save Samir." I stared blankly at the opposite wall, unresponsive. At that moment, the operating room assistant rushed out in panic. "Dr. Marcus, get back here now." The patient's heart stopped. Marcus grabbed my arm frantically. "Fionola, are you really going to just stand there and let your husband die." I stared vacantly at the wall, face blank. Marcus shook my arm desperately. "Fionola, snap out of it. Your husband's dying." I suddenly shuddered, turned to Marcus, and looked at him blankly.
"What?"
"I said your husband is dying. Only you can save him." I numbly held out my trembling hands. "I can't save him." Seeing I was determined not to save Samir, my mother-in-law screamed and charged at me. "Fionola, you heartless woman. Even if your hands shake, you still have to save him. How could you do this to him? He loved you so much and treated you like a princess. How can you repay him like this? All these years, he worked himself to the bone to give you the best life, even ruined his heart for it. And you repay him like this?" My mother-in-law was right. Samir, though from a rural background, was truly exceptional and driven. We had been together since college, and now, 5 years into our marriage, he worked tirelessly to give me the best life possible. He worked long hours building his career and never wanted me to take a demanding job outside the home. Over the past 5 years, we went from nothing to owning a villa and luxury cars, living a life of wealth, all through his hard work. But they never knew what I had endured behind Samir's glamorous facade. If life were so perfect, why would I have depression? But I couldn't be bothered to explain this to my rural in-laws. They couldn't solve my problems. Seeing me unmoved, my father-in-law gritted his teeth and stepped forward. "Fionola, just save Samir. We'll sign a waiver. No matter if the surgery succeeds or fails, we won't blame you. And any consequences from violating hospital regulations, we'll cover them all." I froze. "How?" "Everything Samir's earned, the villa, cars, company shares, all will be put into your name." I was still hesitating when the operating room assistant rushed out and urgently told my in-laws, "The patient isn't going to make it. He said he was sorry to Mrs. Fionola and will make it up to her in the next life." My in-laws let out a desperate scream, released me, and charged into the operating room. But soon my in-laws rushed out again and knelt before me once more. "Fiona, please. Operate on Samuel now. Dr. Marco said immediate surgery could still save him. I'm begging you." My mother-in-law knelt before me, kowtowing until her forehead thumped the floor. My father-in-law hastily got paper and a pen from the nurse, hands trembling as he scrawled a property transfer agreement they both signed. Seeing the elderly couple in tears, their eyes full of hope, I felt a twinge of emotion. My in-laws had always treated me well. The summer I first started dating Samir, he took me to his rural hometown. They killed their only egg-laying hen to make chicken soup for me and showered me with kindness. They said they'd never had the chance to have a daughter, so they treated me as their own. After we married, they didn't have much to offer, but every month they'd make the long trip to bring me fresh, pesticide-free vegetables they'd grown themselves. Maybe because Samir and I both came from the countryside, we never had a generation gap. I always got along really well with my in-laws. Later, as Samir and I prospered, we wanted to bring his parents to our city villa, but they kept refusing, not wanting to intrude on our lives. Even though the whole family eagerly wanted me to have a child, they didn't pressure me when I said I wanted to wait a few years. I always thought I was incredibly lucky to have found such a wonderful husband and family. Until I discovered Samir wasn't who he appeared to be. Everything changed. The memories tightened my chest, my emotions boiling over again, about to explode. Marcus glared at me, teeth clenched, and growled under his breath. "Fionola, how dare you? At a time like this, you're still scheming over Samir's family property. Your husband is dying, and this is how you act. How heartless can you be?" Noticing something was wrong, my in-laws quickly pulled Marcus aside. "Dr. Marcus, don't upset her. If she breaks down, Samir won't stand a chance." Marcus took a deep breath to calm down, then turned to face me again, his jaw clenched as he spoke through gritted teeth. "Fionola, if you won't save him, fine. It's just heart surgery. I'll do it. I refuse to believe you're the only one who can pull this off." Marcus's determination and defiance earned the admiration of everyone present. "Well done. That's a true angel of mercy." Fionola's complete scum as a doctor. If that man survives, Dr. Marcus definitely deserves a big award. She's earned it. Marcus rushed into the operating room in a frenzy. I sank back into the chair, blankly watching the unfolding scene. I watched everything unfold indifferently, letting out a cold laugh in my heart. Their act was so convincing they deserve an Oscar. My in-laws gave me one last desperate look, then sat down and anxiously waited for the surgery results. I couldn't wait to see how they'd pull off this act next. Perhaps I was too exhausted and fell asleep on a chair in the hallway. When I woke up, the hallway had grown quieter with fewer people around. I saw the surgical assistant, now out of protective gear, walking toward me. I hurried over to meet her. Did Samir make it? The assistant gave me a reassuring smile. Don't worry, he's been saved. My heart tightened at the news. Which room is he in? Room 307. I immediately stood up and headed to the room. In the hospital room, Samir lay pale in the bed, his in-laws carefully helping him sip water. Marcus was there too, asking Samir how he was feeling after the surgery. Even the hospital director had come to check on him. I never would have thought. Our hospital's got another top-notch cardiothoracic surgeon now. Marcus did outstanding work, the director exclaimed. When Samir saw me, his expression froze for a moment, but he still managed to curl his lips into a slight smile. Fionola, you're here? The director looked at me, clearly displeased. He said coldly, Finally, you're here, Fionola. I never thought you'd be such a rigid and cold-hearted doctor. I told you to take leave due to depression and stop doing surgeries, but shouldn't emergencies be exceptions? What are you so afraid of? That I'll punish you? Or that you'll be blamed if the surgery fails because of your depression? These are understandable concerns. I'm not heartless. But you just stood there and let someone die. That's truly disappointing. In that case, you can forget about returning to work anytime soon. You don't meet our hospital's ethical standards for doctors. You can't perform surgery anymore. You're fired. The director's words were sharp, like he'd already figured out how to handle me. At that moment, several patients and family members passing by the doorway cast scornful glances my way. Huh. Isn't this Dr. Fionola, who wouldn't lift a finger to save her own husband? What a heartless bitch. How dare she show her face here? That's her. Her husband was dying, and she was still lining her eyebrows at the OR entrance. What a monster. Such a woman. If I were that man, I'd have divorced her ages ago. Might have even strangled her. I ignored the onlookers, my gaze fixed on Samir. Samir didn't blame me a single bit. Instead, he comforted me. Fiona, I know you have depression and couldn't do the surgery. I don't blame you. Then his tone shifted, heavy with sorrow, as he continued. But I heard that while I was dying, you tried to get my money from my parents. Don't you even care if I live or die? I'm your husband. Samir's sudden twist, playing the saint while righteously accusing me, was quite the performance. The onlookers outside started hurling insults at me again. What a vile creature. She must have used up lifetimes of good karma to end up with such a husband. Her husband was dying, and all she cared about was his money. She's not even human. I glanced at the crowd outside, then calmly turned to Samir with a wide smile. Dear husband, your performance is truly remarkable. But now, isn't it about time we ended this little performance? My words hit Samir like a cold slap, freezing his expression. Samuel stared at me for several seconds with a tense face, then suddenly broke into a warm smile. Darling, are you too tired today? What's all this about acting? If you're worn out, just go home and rest. Samir turned to Marcus and the director and said sincerely, Dr. Marcus, I really appreciate you stepping in to save my life. Your skills are truly first-rate. Director, Dr. Marcus risked her reputation and career to perform my surgery and succeeded. This proves her courage and skills are every bit as good as Fionola's. She truly deserves recognition. At Samir's words, Marcus's face lit up with pride, and he shot me a challenging look. Samuel's parents immediately grasped Marcus's hand, overwhelmed with gratitude. Dr. Marcus, you're such a lifesaver. Thank you. for saving our son. The director smiled and patted Marcus on the shoulder, his eyes full of admiration and relief. Don't worry, Dr. Marcus's excellent performance is clear to everyone. I'll make sure she gets the recognition she deserves. Watching all this unfold, I laughed, my eyes filled with sarcasm. What a great show, I said, a sardonic smile on my lips. Samir's face darkened as he glared at me. Fionola, didn't I just tell you? If you're tired, go home and rest. Stop being so sarcastic here. Why can't you stand others' success? Marcus saved me and deserves recognition. What's your problem with that? I looked at Samir calmly and gave a soft chuckle. I have no objections. I'm just curious, was your heart rupture even real? It seemed they had forgotten that I too was a seasoned doctor. I'm with my husband every day. Wouldn't I know if he had a heart problem? Samir worked hard every day and often had to attend social engagements. 3 months prior, he had started laying the groundwork for this act. He said he often felt chest tightness, palpitations, shortness of breath, and sometimes even stabbing pain and dizziness, all classic early signs of a heart attack. At first, I believed him and immediately took him to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup. But the results were alarming. His condition had already progressed to stage 4, with the risk of an acute episode at any time. As a doctor, I immediately felt something was off with the results and demanded a recheck. The results were the same. It wasn't until I overheard Marcus talking with another doctor about Samir's test results that everything clicked. As I was lost in these thoughts, Samir glanced at me with a flicker in his eyes and said with feigned calmness, "Fiona, are you insane? I nearly died, and you're still questioning if I'm really sick." I turned my gaze toward Marcus, squinting as I smiled. "Dr. Marcus, you really believe Samir's heart ruptured and he almost died, don't you?" Marcus, caught off guard by my question, looked flustered. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. At that moment, the crowd outside the ward door couldn't hold back anymore. They started pointing fingers and whispering about me. Is Fionola out of her mind? A hospital this big, so many professional doctors. How could they fake this? Yeah, what's she getting at? Is she accusing her husband of faking his illness? Is she nuts, or is he? I think Fionola's just making excuses for not saving her husband, who pretends to be sick for no reasons. I ignored the murmurs of the crowd and turned my cool gaze to the director. "Director, what's your take on this?" The dean glared at me, his face stern. "Fiona, what nonsense are you talking? How could something so significant be fake? Samuel is your husband. Why would he risk his life to play a joke on you?" Samir looked at me, his eyes red with hurt. "Darling, do you really not trust me? Or are you just saying this to shift the blame? I didn't even blame you for refusing to operate on me. How can you just throw around unfounded accusations like that?" Marcus stood beside Samir, mustered his courage, and spoke. "Fiona, we're colleagues and Samir's friend too. Do you really think we'd team up to fake this and lie to you? This is a life-threatening condition. You don't care about him, fine, but you're married. Don't you trust him at all?" They tag-teamed, dead set on pinning every ugly accusation on me. The onlookers, riled up by their words, started shouting angrily. "Fionola, you're just a cold-blooded monster. Quit your pathetic excuses. You didn't save your husband? Fine. But Dr. Marcus risked his neck to save him, and you're still here bad-mouthing him? How low can you get? Just because you're depressed doesn't give you the right to harm people. Such a vile woman. Why don't you just drop dead?" The director glared at me with a darkened face. "Fionola, you're a doctor at this hospital. Even if you have issues with your husband and don't trust him, Marcus is your colleague. How can you not trust her? I've been following this matter closely from the start. Are you saying you don't trust me either? Samir's tests were done right here at our hospital yesterday. The records are still available. If you don't believe it, I'll have Marcus pull them up for you." I smiled at the dean. "No need. Even if we check again in our own hospital, you can still control the results, can't you?" "What do you mean? Are you saying our whole hospital is in on this? Where's your proof?" The director was really getting agitated. He clenched his fists and moved toward me like he was about to hit me. With the director backing him up, Marcus straightened up again, sneering at me as he spoke. Fiona, I thought you just had depression, but turns out your bats hit crazy. You're such a drama queen, always cooking up new schemes. You're just trying to shut people up to keep them from accusing you of not saving your husband and making up excuses? A doctor like you with great skills but no ethics. The director is absolutely right to fire you. Watching Fiona's mouth flap and her smug face, I sneered inwardly. In this whole mess, I shouldn't have been the one fired. The onlookers outside lingered stubbornly, forcing the dean to sigh. The director sighed.
Fine.
Since Fionola is convinced we're all in on this fabrication, let's retrieve the test records from that day. I sneered. Sure, but I bet when Chinfong from IT checks the surveillance, he'll say there was a glitch and the footage is gone. Then you'll have Marcus and the other staff explain things, and the test results will conveniently show up, right? You're talking nonsense. How did you? The second I spoke, the director's face went stormy. What do you mean? How did you? As expected, minutes later Chinfong rushed in and announced publicly to the director, Director, yesterday's surveillance malfunctioned. The footage didn't capture anything. I raised an eyebrow at the director.
See? Told you.
The director's face flushed beet red. Facing the crowd of curious onlookers blocking the doorway, he wiped sweat from his forehead. This was just a glitch. Stop spinning conspiracy theories. Let's have Dr. Marcus, the attending physician, explain what happened. We can call other doctors involved if needed. Marcus puffed out his chest and stepped forward. I waved him off and pulled out my phone. No need. I've got the whole exam recorded. Save your breath. Just watch the video. My words instantly shocked Samir, Marcus, and the director, leaving them visibly nervous. I took the data cable from my bag, connected my phone to the hospital room's TV, and pressed play. The first thing that appeared on screen were several examination reports showing Samuel's results. Stage 4 myocardial infarction. Marcus sighed in relief and shot me a mocking look. Thought you had something special. This is just the test results I confirmed myself. Stage 4 myocardial infarction. What's the issue? Samir also let out a sigh of relief, glaring at me angrily. Fionola, what are you up to? You have to cause a scene here? Isn't this already humiliating enough for you? I raised an eyebrow calmly. Take it easy. Keep watching. Next came another test result with Samir's name, but showing a diagnosis of arrhythmia and a recommendation for a pacemaker. Both reports were dated December 7th, the exact same time, yet showed completely different results. The crowd of onlookers buzzed with confused whispers. Marcus cleared his throat awkwardly. So what? Since when can patients only have one heart issue? Having multiple conditions needing different treatments makes perfect sense. Marcus, it's one thing to fool the patients, but do you really think I, as a professional doctor, can't see through your tricks? Just keep watching. The next scene showed me accessing Samir's online medical records from the hospital system. The records only showed his arrhythmia diagnosis, but no mention of myocardial infarction. I smiled at Marcus. Dr. Marcus, hospital regulations require all patient records to be entered into the system. Why is the myocardial infarction record missing? I forgot to enter it. I'll add it right away, Marcus stammered. The video continued, cutting to a conversation between Marcus and his intern assistant Alexander. Dr. Marcus, should we enter this fake myocardial infarction record into the system? Are you stupid? Why would I enter a fake record into the system? You want me to get in trouble when it's found out later? Alexander chuckled and said to Marcus, Hey, just kidding. I'm not dumb enough to enter fake records. But Dr. Marcus, you sure there's nothing between you and Samir? Why fake his medical records? Alex, mind your own business. You still want that promotion? The video ended right then and there, a total slap in the face to Marcus. His face instantly turned as white as a sheet. Fiona, you're supposed to be on leave. How did you get this video? Why didn't I know you were there? Indeed, Dr. Fionola wasn't there. I set up a spare phone in the corner to record everything and forwarded it to her. Alex strode into the room, glaring coldly at Marcus, who froze in shock. Good job, Alex. You're my intern. When did you start scheming with Fiona behind my back? Dr. Marcus. I'm not as vile as you and Samir. Dr. Fionola and I are completely innocent. I just couldn't stand you sneaking around with her husband. Marcus's face drained of color, leaving him speechless. I looked at Samir with a cold smile. Nothing to say, dear husband? Samir gritted his teeth and shot back. Just one video and you're accusing me of cheating with Marcus? That's absurd. This only proves Marcus faked a medical record, a minor mistake at best. Samir, I can't believe you're still lying at this point. Then I'll personally expose this little mistake you and Marcus made together. I suddenly rushed to Samir's side, tore open his hospital gown, and exposed his freshly operated chest. There was a 3-centimeter incision. Underneath the skin, a faintly visible oval bulge, about the size of a watch face. As everyone gasped, I shouted, "This isn't a heart rupture incision. That requires at least a 10-centimeter sternum incision. This was a pacemaker implant, which perfectly matches your arrhythmia test results. So your heart rupture was fake all along. You used it to guilt-trip me into operating on you." Once I agreed, Marcus would have declared my surgery failed, saying you died on the table, just to destroy my career. And you two had already gotten passports to flee abroad, planning to change your identities and run away together. Exposed, Samir flew into a rage. Nonsense. You've lost it, Fiona. That's crazier than any soap opera plot. Couldn't it just be that Marcus misdiagnosed my heart rupture and I actually had arrhythmia leading to the pacemaker implant? Who knew a simple medical slip-up would make you think it's some big conspiracy with Marcus and me plotting against you? How absurd. Marcus also looked at me with a panicked expression, nervously defending himself. Fionola, you're stretching this way too far. Since when have I had an affair with your husband, framed you, or planned to run away? Can you actually take responsibility for these outrageous claims? Of course I can. Keep watching. It's not over yet. The screen cut to a video of Samir and Marcus in a car, flipping through their freshly obtained passports. Well, the money wasn't wasted after all. They actually came through. You'll be Jack, and I'll be Mary. God, these names are so tacky. Huh. That fool Fionola will never figure out we're together. This time we'll pin the fatal medical malpractice on her. She'll never work in this field again. She'll never guess we're changing our names and moving to St. Kitts and Nevis. The two exchanged a smug smile, embraced each other, and began removing their clothes. I fast-forwarded through the cringy parts that came next. Samir's face turned deathly pale, his eyes full of panic as he stared at me. Fionola, I deleted the dashcam footage. Why do you still have a backup? You might have forgotten, but you were the one who complained about the dashcam's limited storage. I got you cloud storage with backup and gave you the link. You're the one who didn't delete the backups. There are several more videos of your disgusting acts, but I won't play them all. Now that all the facts are out, do you two have anything left to say? Samuel gritted his teeth and coldly said, Fine. Since you know everything, I won't hide it anymore. I haven't loved you for a long time. I've fallen for Marco. She's wild and seductive, and she knows how to please me. I'm leaving you. We're already planning to move abroad. Marcus sneered as he looked at me. Never thought you had it in you, Fionola. You actually cracked our airtight plan.
So what?
Does that magically make Samir love you again? What's the damn point? Of course it matters. At least I've exposed your plot to frame me and your adultery while protecting my reputation and career. You think that's all I know about your nasty affairs? Let me make this clear. Your escape abroad is cancelled. What's waiting for you is prison labor. Suddenly, police sirens blared as officers swarmed in. Samir, Marcus, Solly. You're accused of taking patient bribes and creating fake medical projects to embezzle hospital funds. Come with us now. I didn't do anything. This is nonsense. Who reported this? Where's the evidence? Marcus struggled to run out, but the cops yanked him back. It was Dr. Fionola from your hospital who reported you. We have all the evidence at the station. You'll see it there. Also, the bribes Marcus and Samir took from patients and the hospital funds they embezzled. Director Ollie was in on it too. Director Ollie quit standing around. You're coming with us. The commotion outside the door left the onlookers stunned. Holy shit. This goes way deeper. We've wronged Dr. Fionola all along. I can't believe it. Marcus was so convincing, but she was the one having an affair with Dr. Fionola's husband and framing her. What a twist. We were wrong about Dr. Fionola. She's the real victim. The sudden turn of events left my country-bred in-laws completely stunned. The elderly couple rushed to the handcuffed Samir and slapped him twice across the face. His mother wept heartbrokenly. We worked our asses off to raise you and put you through college, and this is how you repay us? His father stomped angrily. You fool. Fionola's such a great woman, and you still weren't satisfied. Screwing her colleague behind her back. No wonder she got depression. This is all your fault. The story reached its dramatic conclusion, and everyone involved was taken to the police station for questioning. The investigation quickly uncovered the truth. Samir met Marcus a year ago when he was picking me up from work. The two immediately hit it off, and while I wasn't looking, they secretly added each other on WeChat. From that moment on, their affair spiraled out of control. At the cardiothoracic department, Marcus had always resented me for overshadowing him. He deliberately seduced Samir and plotted with him to ruin me and flee abroad. To fund their plan to settle abroad, Marcus had been illegally collecting bribes from patients, totaling over $1 million yuan. He had also been stealing medical supplies and high-priced medicines from the hospital and selling them through Samir's company. They even involved Director Ali in their scheme, creating fake medical aid projects to siphon off hospital funds through Samir's company. The trio had illegally pocketed over 30 million yuan from the hospital within a year. This was the real reason the director had been protecting Marcus and Samir and wanted to fire me. Soon, Samir, Marcus, and Director Ali were all sentenced and received their due punishments. The hospital got a new director, and I was promoted to head the cardiothoracic department. With Marcus and Samir gone from my life, my depression quickly lifted. What lay ahead was a brand new chapter that was truly mine.